Over to the United States now, and there seems to be a lot going on in Donald Trump's corner. COVID-19 cases continue to rise, numbers almost reaching 3 million now. On the personal front, his niece has written a tell-all memoir claiming her uncle paid someone to take his high school exams. Also allegations he complimented his own niece's breasts. Just a few of the shocking claims from Mary Trump's book. She says Trump's character was shaped by child abuse. Quite startling allegations. I'm joined now by our US Correspondent Simon Marks. Good evening to you, Simon. Gosh, let's deal with that book first. That's pretty explosive. And what has the president said, if anything?
Well, it is the book the White House doesn't want you to read, Sally. This is a book that the White House is still trying to take legal action to block. But as with the John Bolton book that preceded it, Mary Trump's tome has ended up in the hands of reporters. And as you say, it makes a whole series of extremely startling revelations that the White House is dismissing as complete falsehoods, although the White House press secretary did concede yesterday that she didn't actually have a copy of the book. So some reporters wonder how they can be certain that everything that it contains is completely false. It does allege that in a bid to secure his place at Wharton Business School here in the United States, highly regarded business school, Donald Trump had someone else sit his standard aptitude test, the SAT, the big exam that children here take when they're 17 and 18. It also claims that Donald Trump is essentially a victim of his own father's abuse. It portrays Frederick Trump as a sociopath, in the words of Mary Trump, and she says that as a result of being on the receiving end of that kind of emotional abuse, Donald Trump essentially was raised to believe that his own feelings and his own views had no value. So quite a serious psychological insight that she's presenting there into President Trump and his own makeup.
And at the same time, of course, COVID cases are surging in the United States. 60,000 new cases in 24 hours. California, Texas really feeling the brunt of it. Has there been a response from the White House?
Well, it's an absolute disaster. I mean, we've learnt within the last few minutes that the United States has now surpassed the 3 million mark in terms of the number of infections that have been recorded here, and the latest million, we've gone from 2 million to 3 million in under a month. On Tuesday alone here, 65,000 new cases. Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the president's top public health advisors, has said that he believes the country is on a path to recording 100,000 daily cases soon. He slammed the White House and President Trump yesterday obliquely. He didn't use President Trump's name, but he said it's an entirely false narrative to argue that the country is combating COVID-19 because mortality rates here are currently falling. But that is absolutely the narrative to which the White House continues to cling. And indeed, within the last hour, Vice President Mike Pence, holding a briefing of the president's coronavirus task force, has again said that falling mortality rates indicate that things here are moving in the right direction. But in key states, Florida, Texas, Arizona and California, the numbers are absolutely heading south, and the White House is beginning to concede that some of the restrictions that were relaxed too early now need to be reimposed.
And ironically, all this happening as the US begins a formal pullout from the WHO. What is Joe Biden saying about that?
Well, Joe Biden says if he is elected in November, and the polls suggest that were the election held today, he would easily be elected, he will immediately take the United States back into the World Health Organization, because even critics of the WHO here argue that if you walk away from the table and you've got no plan to stay within the WHO and reform it, you're essentially creating an environment in which China can increase its influence and its financial support, if it chooses, for the World Health Organization. So you end up creating the issue that you're complaining about, namely the WHO being in China's pocket. You'll only be accelerating that outcome. So Joe Biden absolutely is committed, he says, to taking the United States back in.
Well, thank you very much. Simon Marks in Washington, telling us that the United States now officially is over 3 million infections.